Good Sunday, ladies and gentlemen. You know what? I sat on my glasses. Crunch. I got no glasses today. I'm going to have to go to the store tomorrow and get some. It's a Sunday. I'm not going to bother today. I'm just going to tell. And I got a new camera, guys. And you know what? I think the audio is pretty good. Okay, it's not perfect, but it's a lot better than what I was working with. You know? And the camera picture quality is pretty good too. So I'm fairly happy with it. Anyway, let's get started. Here's the thing. Uh, we've got a world that's heading toward turmoil right now. That's why I started this channel, Financial Turmoil Explained. And as we're getting closer, see, primarily what I do on this channel here is I'm a future trends in the financial system. That's what I cover, but I'm also a futurist, you know? And in that capacity, gee, the camera just suddenly changed color. Anyway, that really messes me up when I try to do video production, when the camera changes color like that. I got to work on this camera yet. I got to figure out what's going on with it. Anyway, here's the thing. Future trends in the financial system. As we're getting closer and closer to this crisis that's coming in the financial system of the world, I can see it better. There, it changed color again. I can see what's happening better. You know, as we're getting so close now that you can look ahead and see it better. What's going to happen now? What's going to happen with the money itself, and that's basically the topic of this show in the next couple years. What's going to happen to your money? Do you want to know what's going to happen to your money? I got to figure out why this camera keeps changing color. It's going to really mess me up in post-production of this video. Anyway, trying to do the chromachrome, take the green screen away and everything. It's going to really mess me up. Anyway, so what's going to happen with your money? Let's get back to the topic. We're going to move into inflation. Well, you guys probably already figured that, you know. But we're also moving into a recession at the same time. Now, recessions, they tend to be deflationary, not inflationary. This one is strange, and the reason why it's strange is because they've created so much money post 2008 economic crisis. They created, well, there's off books, there's 21 trillion that they created right there. Plus they bailed all the banks out. Now, that created a liquidity trap within the system. Because when they bailed all those banks out, those banks, you know, they just didn't go out and spend all that money. That money is still in the system. This is why these banks can pass the stress tests so easy. You know, the stress tests that they give the banks, the big banks, is because they still got a lot of that liquidity that was created in the 2008 crisis. It's never been expunged from the system. So there's an awful lot of liquidity out there, right, searching for a home. Now you got pension funds and things like that. You know, that money is trying to make yield. Tremendously active trying to make yield. So we're moving into this next little period where you've got deflationary pressures from the recession, but at the same time, you've got all this tremendous amount of liquidity that was created within the system. The Fed tried to remove some of that liquidity with their quantitative tightening process, but, I mean, just the 21 trillion that they created alone, the Fed only removed, they didn't remove that much. They were only removing 50 billion a month. You know, it didn't amount to that much, and now they're going to have to end it. I think they're ending it in September, the quantitative tightening. So we still got quantitative tightening going on. At the same time, we're seeing the inflationary effects begin, you know. So we're going to move into this recession, and we're going to experience higher inflation rates than we've seen in a long time. As the recession progresses, the world's central banks are going to have to create new, fresh liquidity for the system. That's what they're going to have to do. They're forced to do it. And they're going to have to cut rates down. We're looking at, quite literally, the overnight rate being cut. The Fed's federal funds rate. They're going to keep cutting and cutting it down until it's down to the 0% mark, hoping that that's going to restore some faith and confidence in the markets, and the markets is going to move up a little bit. But it's not. People out there borrowing in the credit bubble is starting to burst at the same time, and that has gained momentum. That's what's carrying us into this recession, has already gained momentum or traction. And so what the Fed's doing right now is actually behind the curve. So they're lowering interest rates is actually behind the curve. They're trying to put that in front of a giant truck full of cement, and it's like a guy trying to slow down a truck that's it's rolling down a hill. It's got no driver, and it's a truck full of cement, very heavy. It's like a train, and he's trying to stop it, getting in front of it, trying to push on it. Come on, help me, guys! Slow this thing down. But you can't because it's gaining momentum, it's gaining traction, and it's bigger than what you're trying to do. So the Fed, in order to stop this thing, they're going to have to use equal amount of force, and this means new money creation, tremendous amounts of new money creation. So I think why this thing is switching colors so bad is because I think that it is something to do with the automatic controls on it. I gotta go inside and work on it. It's gonna make it hard for me to edit this video. Anyway, listen, guys. The Fed is behind the curve on this thing. They're trying to catch up. They're trying to slow down the momentum of it, but they're not going to be able to. They're going to have to keep increasing the amount of liquidity that they're pouring into the system to try to slow this thing down. So what we're going to happen is, here's what's going to happen. We're going to start entering the world into this recession. We got Germany and the United Kingdom now starting to go into recession. And the central banks are going to all work together to inject new liquidity into the system. But this time is different than 2008. This time, when they inject all this liquidity into the system, they're going to cause a chain reaction effect where they're going to keep increasing inflation higher and higher. At a certain point, people are going to start to lose confidence in the purchasing power of their dollars. So what does all this mean? Now, I've talked for 7 minutes. You guys are probably saying, what does all this mean for us? And how is this thing going to proceed in the next period in time? Okay, here's what I see happening. I see the market starting to cool off in the next month or two and starting to fall. I see the central banks coming in to support the markets with what's called loose monetary policy, or now it might not take the form of quantitative easing. They might call it something else, and it might be a little bit different programs this time, but it's basically the same thing. They're basically monetizing the debt. So they're going to come in, they're going to monetize everything to try to pull us out of this recession that's causing the markets to fall, and they're going to try to support the markets. That's going to increase the inflation. Plus, the trade wars are increasing the inflation because the price of goods in the stores are going to start going up because of the trade war. I don't see any solution to this trade war anytime really soon. It might get solved 6 months or a year from now, but China feels like they're boxed into a corner. The United States feels like they're boxed into a corner. Neither side wants to make any concessions right at this particular point in time, so we're going to move into this inflation more and more and more. Heaven forbid the oil supply starts to get cut off, because then the oil price will go way up. So, over the course of the next 2 years, inflation is going to heat up hotter and hotter. About 2 years from now, this whole situation is going to boil down to a point in time where people start to lose confidence in the purchasing power of their currencies. And what's going to happen then is the central banks are going to be churning out more money than you could possibly imagine, and the world's going to start to enter into what's called hyperinflation. By that time, what's going to be helping to trigger the hyperinflation is three things: gold, silver, and cryptocurrencies. Because in 2 years from now, these cryptocurrencies will have grown huge. I'm expecting that the cryptocurrency markets will be almost as big as the gold market. So they'll be working together, combined. It's like a combined effort. It's just like in wrestling when you got a tag team, you know. You know, that's how gold and silver and the cryptocurrencies are going to be working together, and they're going to be going up in value, while the fiat currencies are going down in value. It's going to become a worldwide phenomenon that all the people on Earth are going to be chasing after the assets that are going up in value to store them away rather than hang on to the fiat. This is going to mean that these markets, gold, silver, and cryptocurrencies, are going to be taking a moonshot, and that moonshot is what's going to be actually destroying the fiat currencies. We're going to be moving into a new world, a new paradigm, where Bitcoin and gold, I believe, are going to be somewhat interchangeable. Gold will be the fundamental basis of the new financial system. It'll be like your house is built on a foundation. Gold will be the foundation. Bitcoin will be the way to move the gold from one place to another. And so Bitcoin will represent gold. This is where I believe. Now, this is my personal opinion. This is where I believe we're headed. And the fiat currencies will be on their way to zero. The banking system, worldwide, the banking system is going to have more and more trouble with this new paradigm, because it basically, with this new way of sending money, this new technology, it's basically cutting them out of the loop. They're not needed anymore. They become superfluous. And the reason why is because they've always acted as a third party in transactions and everything. Like right now, they're still out there, the banks, and they're the guys who own your debit card. Well, what a lot of people don't know, a debit card simulates a two-party transaction. So say you're in Walmart and you want to use your debit card, right? And you go up to the cash register lady. Well, there's two parties there. There's her and there's you. And you're using the debit card. It seems like it's a two-party transaction. You're handing them the money and they're giving you the product. But actually it's not. There's a signal in that little device that goes back to the bank, and the bank has to approve the transaction. So the bank is actually the third party. If all the banks close, they can't do any debit card transactions. Now cash is different. Cash is a real two-party transaction, because you haul the cash out of your pocket, you give it to the lady at Walmart, she counts it and puts it in the register. It's just you and her. Two parties. A signal does not go to the bank. This is why when the debit card, when they can't get that signal to the bank, or something wrong, the bank's closed or whatever, you cannot use that debit card, because that signal can't go to the bank for them to say okay. See? Now a cryptocurrency is the same as cash. It's a two-party transaction. You've got your cryptocurrency wallet, and a lady there is waiting for payment. She accepts the payment, goes through the network, and it doesn't need the third party to sign it off. Okay, you're the bank. You're the third party. You become the bank with your cryptocurrency wallet. And so what this is going to do is, more and more, this blockchain, which is a ledger that runs on the internet, It's an automated ledger. The computer just runs it. The computer in your wallet uh, runs it, and it downloads into the blockchain, and the blockchain is all automated. So it's an automated It's like an automated banking system that's free. It's open source. This will make the banks superfluous at a certain point in time in the future. As this is growing exponentially, it's just too good to pass up. It's like any invention that's too good. Like when the light bulb came in, you know? It took a long time. Like 30 years after the light bulb was invented, they were still roughing in houses in the New England area. When they rough in a house, they put the plumbing in and everything. And they were roughing in the old gas lights. Like 30 years after the light was invented, they were still roughing in gas lights. But the light bulb was just too good. How many houses nowadays do they rough in gas lights into? They don't. That's because it died and went away. And that's the way with fiat currencies. Fiat currencies is a flawed, not a good system for the internet. It just doesn't work that well. It's too open to fraud, for one thing. And it's slow. And it requires each transaction to be validated by a real person, generally working for the banks. And then they take a big cut. That's all going to go out. That's like the gas lights. The new system coming in is just so much better. It's like the light bulb. It's so much better. It's just as big an invention as the light bulb. It's not going to be stopped. In the end, it's going to come in and it's going to take over. And what it's going to do is it's going to make the banks superfluous. You're your own bank with a cryptocurrency wallet. What do you need a bank for? In the end, this is going to take over. And it's not going to take it as long as it took the light bulb. It took the light bulb like 30 years. The reason why was a lot of people were frightened of electricity in their home. Oh, it's dangerous. You can get shocked. And Edison was out helping them with this. He was, I think he was out doing things to try to make them frightened of AC power, because he wanted DC power. I think that's the way the story went. Anyway, it's a long time ago, but that's what happened. And that's why it took so long. But this is not going to take so long. This just got started in 2009, and look at how big it's growing already. Amazing growth. And it's growing right now. Even though the price isn't going up that much right now, still it's growing like crazy. It's spreading. It'll bring banking to the entire world, even to the unbanked. But the handwriting's on the wall for the banks. And so part of the systematic, not part of it, actually the whole problem with our financial system is the banks. But the problem is it's so ingrained, it's the way the system works, that ripping it all out too quickly and trying to put in this new system with all this new digital currencies and stuff can cause a tremendous amount of disruption. And this is one of the reasons why I'm not really for Bitcoin. Even though I talk about it a lot, even though I got a Bitcoin channel, I'm not really for Bitcoin because I know the disruption it's going to cause in the world. And I don't like to see that disruption. Even though if we can get past the disruption on the other side of it, it might be a better picture. Even still, the disruption it could cause, because you just can't take out the old monetary system and replace it with something else overnight. But this situation might happen too fast. And that's what I'm frightened of. I'm frightened that the cryptocurrencies will cause tremendous disruption once they really start to gain traction because of the mismanaged monetary system. So, anyway, getting back to the original subject I was talking about, which is this 2-year period. At the end of 2 years, we're going to start to move into the real serious hyperinflation. And what's that going to look like is every day you're going to see the fiat currencies diminishing in value and people trying to get rid of them as fast as they can, and the hyperinflation is going to go faster and faster and faster. It's going to eat up the purchasing power and this is going to cause tremendous disruption as well. So we're moving into a climate of a world where things are starting to happen so fast. Uh, it's hard to guarantee that everything will go through smoothly. You know? What I'm trying to say is pick a closet in your house, clean everything out of it. The bottom of the closet, I would fill it with bottled water, and halfway up above the bottled water, put stuff like toilet paper and canned food and other stuff like that. You know, maybe put a piece of plywood on top of the bottled water or something to hold it, so the pressure of the other stuff on top of it doesn't crunch your bottles of bottled water. You know, you know, and then stack it all the way to the ceiling. That closet. Put it in there nice and neatly. You know, in the middle section, you could have all things like your canned foods and stuff. They're heavy too. You know, all the heavy stuff down toward the bottom. Maybe you could put the canned food right on the bottom and the bottled water on top of the canned food. And then have your lighter stuff like toilet paper, medical supplies, a medical kit. You need a medical kit, you know. You need things like sugar is a great thing to put away. It lasts for years. You know, syrups and stuff. They're great, you know. Great to put away, you know, and pancake mix is a good thing to put away. You know, the type that you don't need eggs, you know? And I mean, when the rest of the world might be going with an empty stomach, well, you could be frying up pancakes for yourself, you know, and you could be sitting back, relaxing, have everything you need, you know, basically. Even have a little radio that doesn't run off of electricity, it runs off of batteries. Get yourself a little sideband radio so that you can listen to all the shortwave frequencies. So nobody else knows what's going on. You're listening to the ham radio operator, sitting back, eating your pancakes, and you know what's going on. Nobody else in your neighborhood knows what's going on, because they're all in the dark. I'll tell you, you think stuff like this can't happen? Look at Kashmir today. They're sitting there and they got no internet. They don't know what in the heck's going on in that country. You know? So if you think things like this can't happen, yes, they can happen. Your internet could be gone. Your lights could be out in your house. And if you've got yourself a little camp stove, and you got yourself a can of beans, and you got yourself a hot plate with some pancakes cooking on it, and you got a little shortwave radio, it runs off of batteries, and you're sitting there listening to music on it, kicking back in your big chair, you know? The rest of the world out there, I mean, they're got their hair on fire, but you don't. You're sitting there eating your pancakes. Listen, thank you guys for listening to this show, and we'll catch you guys again very, very soon. Bye-bye, guys.